Hi, I'm John Glynn, and today I'm going to be looking at the text tool, which is in your toolbox under the options of draw in Photoshop Elements 20. I'm just using a standard PC and mouse, nothing special, and you can see that I've got the T highlighted in the toolbox on the left hand side of your monitor. You should have a picture open, and when I click on that T, down below underneath my photo you will have various options as to do what to do with text. Now I'm not going to do them all in one tutorial because that would just be far too much and far too long, so I'm going to do them bit by bit, but I'm going to do the standard text to start with. I'm going to use the horizontal type tool. The vertical type tool next to it, if you click on that option, it will just say vertical. Is the same options, but the text types down the page rather than across it. Okay, but the basic principles remain the same. As most people do horizontal, I think that's a more logical one to show. So I'm only going to be looking at the actual horizontal type. So weird things appear on my monitor. I'll just turn them off. Okay, when you click on the type tool, you'll notice that you'll get choices then as to what you can actually do with the type here in the selections here significantly. So you have a look at the font style. Fonts are the types of text you can use, and the style of text is on the right hand side of the name. And as you move up, you'll see that there's hundreds of font styles to choose from. Okay, so some of them are fairly strange, but there's no harm in trying them out. You don't have to do the font immediately. You will find that the font can be changed at any stage of your editing. Okay, so it's not a reason that you have to choose it at the actual time of doing it. I'll just go to Arial because that's probably the most common that most people will use for most things anyway. So I'm just going to go Arial regular. Underneath the font style, you'll have whether it can do or what options you get, like bold, italic, regular, narrow, etc. Not all the fonts will give you those choices. Okay, you will find that some fonts have limited selection or options. Arial, being one of the most common fonts, actually has a large choice of options as to how it should look. Okay, so there's the choices there. The size is in point sizes. Text is always in point sizes, PT for short, and the bigger the number, the bigger the font will be. If I put my mouse over and click my picture and put it in the sky, click once with the left mouse key, you'll see a cursor, flashing cursor. That's the size of my text. If I want it to be bigger than 70, I would just type a bigger number in the box. So it doesn't have to be 70. I can now make it say 100, and the cursor will become bigger. Okay, so you can increase the size of the text by just clicking in the box and changing it. Leading is if I did a 2 or 3 lines of text all at the same time, then the leading would be the distance between one line of text and the line below it. Okay, and tracking is the text. If you type text, you'll have letters obviously, and it's the distance between each letter is tracking. The color of the text is based around this wee box down here. So I'm going to type some text, and then we can see what else we can do with it. So I'm going to just say capital letter as you would normally type. If you're just going to type into any Word document, so the shift key gives you capital letters and all the rest of it. So there's no difference in typing here as there would be in any other document particularly. Wish you were here. I can say tick and say yes, I agree with that text, Now, the other thing you must have open for this software to work is not only the text, obviously you need the T for text to be active. Once you say tick here, OK, it jumps to the move tool automatically, and the move tool lets you move the text around. You can hold your mouse over the text with the left mouse key. Make sure your mouse is over the text and not in between. Sometimes, oh, it is now, it's picking it up, but sometimes it won't pick up the text, it will pick up the picture behind. But the other thing you'll need to have open is the layers panel on the right hand side. The layers panel is this thing here where you've got a background layer, which will be your original photo, and text will automatically create its own layer, and it will pick up the first few words or letters that you have typed. Okay, and so you know which layer you're on. Each time you type a new text layer, you'll get a new layer. So each time you type new text, it will create its own layer unless you work within the same text area. So if you were here, you could add text to that by just making sure it's highlighted, and now I can say today. I'll put that in. I wish you were here today. I won't bother with a capital letter. There we are, and now that is actually within the same layer. Now it won't have necessarily the whole lot that you type, because if you type lots, the title in the layers panel on the right hand side, it only takes up the first 2 or 3, 4 words. Okay, after that there isn't any space, so it's only the first bit of your typing that it will highlight in the layers panel. Otherwise, you've got your text. You can move it about, as I said, and if I want to change it, I can just go to the green T in the layers panel. If I want to change anything about the text I've got, there's a green T. If I double click the T, it highlights it automatically, and it goes back to the text options so that I can go through and say, right, I'm no longer wanting Arial, I will try a different font. And as you see, as I move up through the fonts, the text will change automatically to the new style. Okay, when I'm happy with the new style, I just click it once with the left mouse key if you're using a PC, and there you have it. Now the colour, you'll notice the letters are white, but we know that the colour is black. So if I click on the colour in the bottom here, and I say, well, let's choose a different colour, I'll choose yellow. I don't get yellow at the top here, I get blue. I get the opposite colour. So I'm going to say OK, and now you'll see that it's a yellow text. If I go back to my T and I say, right, I want to change the colour again, I go down to this funny little strip of colour at the bottom, and I can choose pink. The opposite colour will appear. Say OK, I now have pink. Go back again to my T and double click it, it highlights it. But if I go to the left hand side and look at the swatches of colours, I've got swatch of colour in the toolbox, and I tick on that pink, and I say, well, actually I want this colour to be green. I say OK. It has changed it to green. So I can pick up the colour from either side, okay, from here or here. If it doesn't always work from here, it will do from the bottom. Okay, so you can pick up your colour from either location. As I said, with Alphabet IV, there is no choice. You see how the options down at the bottom below the font style IV, it's greyed out. It doesn't give you the choice of doing things like bold or anything like that in this area. It might do here though. I've got B for bold, so I can do bold there, and I've got italic here, and I've got an underline option. These are on off buttons. You click them once to turn it on, click it once to turn it off, and you also have a scroll through. Okay, so you've got choices here. The choice of left align, right align and center align is if I had typed anything within the same layer underneath it. So if I said today, I'll add to the text and create a new line, and say, wish you were here today having a great time. Do another line as well, why not? Couldn't be better. Okay, they are all left aligned. At the moment, everything on the left hand side, they're all in line with one another. If I center it, you can notice that it moves, not in relationship to the picture, but in relationship to the text. So I'm going to just do OK, and then double click the T and do center line. Now all they are centered to the text. If I do right align, they do right align. Now I can move them. I'm going to move them over. So I'm going to say OK and move the text over to the center. I have to drag the text manually to center it. It doesn't center to the photo because it's centering it to itself, or right aligning in this case to itself. If I double click the T again and highlight it and do center, it moves the text, but when I move it back, the text is now all centered to itself. Okay, not the photo. So just be aware that when you do the left align, center align, right align, is actually to the text itself, but only within its own layer. Okay, if you have another layer of text separate to this layer, then that won't be impacted. You'll have to do them and drag them around to get them into the right location. Okay, as for the leading, if I go into leading and I do 72 point, you'll notice how close they get. I don't think I need to necessarily have it on highlighted fully, as long as it's on the right layer. It should. No, it's not going to change, so I do have to have that all highlighted. 6 point, they crush it all together. Auto will separate it, and if you want it further apart, you can punch in your own number. So 72 down there brings it together. Let's say 80. What about if I do it at 90, and so on? You see that it moves. Okay, so you can change the distance between the text, lines of text, by changing the leading. The actual tracking is the actual letters between, the distance between the letters themselves. So if I change that from 10 and I say, well, let's make it -25, it brings them closer together. If I do it 75, it pulls them apart further, and if you do it on 0, then it may be normal, but in fact on this one I think it had 10. Okay, so the font, that tracking will be largely dependent on the font you're using and the font size. So you can change the font style, you can change potentially whether it's bold, italic and underline, and what other options that font will have will be listed in this funny little grade box here. If I turn on and go back to bold, Arial, this now becomes active again, and sure enough I have a load of other choices to do with this particular font style. You can change the size of the font by just punching in the size you're wanting. You can change or doing the drop down menu, sorry, there. You can change the leading, it's usually auto, and you can change the tracking, but we'd normally just leave it to whatever its own devices are. You have a color option for your text, bold, italic and underline, and strike through, and left align, center and right align to the text that you've typed within the same layer. And then further than that, on the far right hand side you have an option to do a shape. So I can go into none, just click on the T with this funny little arrow underneath. It gives you a choice of warping text. It's called warp text. I can go into warp text and I can say do flag, and I can change the way that will work. I can change the angle of it, I can change whether it's how vertical it is, and I can say OK, and OK with my little arrow, and there I have a different font, a different style, a wave now, which I didn't have before. I can still move it about. It's totally independent of the photo still. So if I go back to the big T, this is done under warping the text. I also have choices here of doing things like bevels, drop shadows. All of this sort of thing also becomes active for this particular type of text. So if I wanted to, I could do a bevel. And once I do one of these options, I get a little FX appearing in my layers panel with the text. It's now got a warp text icon with the T and wish you were here, and then next to that there's a little FX. If I double click the FX, it then comes up with the choices here. I've got bevel, it's already ticked because I've done the bevel, but I can do a drop shadow, and I can change the size of the drop shadow. Just do distance, opacity. I can up the opacity of it, maybe drop that. There we are. You can start seeing the drop shadow. Okay, you can change the colour of the drop shadow, so it doesn't have to be black. You can change it to a different colour. So okay, so I've now got red drop shadow. You can do glows. You've got inner glows and outer glows. So if I wanted to do an inner glow, turn on the glow, click the inner one. It's white by default. It's got a white paint there, but again you can add a white to your text, so you can turn it on and off to see whether you like the effect or not. But again, you can change the color. It doesn't have to be white, it could be any other color. And you can add a stroke. A stroke is a like a border, if you like, around your text. And you can see that I'm making it bigger and bigger and bigger, so that's a stroke. Okay, and by the default color is black, but again you can change that color by just clicking it and choosing a different color, and you can change the opacity of it, and the position of the stroke can be outside as it is at the moment, inside, and centered. Okay, so you've got different ways of text relating to one another and your photo. When you're happy with the look, you just say OK, and you now have your text. You can go back to your layer. You can go to your move tool. You can click on the move tool on the toolbox, and you can drag your text around to put it wherever you wish. It's totally independent of the photo below it. So you can go to your layers panel, and you have your little magic eye on your layers panel. Next on the actual layer itself, there's a little eye. If it's got a strike through it, the layer is off, and you'll see it without the effect. Switching it on, just touch the magic eye again, and the effect comes back. And obviously it's independent of the picture below, so you can turn the picture off and on below as well. If you want new text on a totally new layer, just click the background and you can start typing somewhere else, or you can just leave it on this layer and it should pick it up and allow you to type anywhere else. But if not, just click the background and start typing, and you'll get a new layer of text. Okay, so you can have as many layers of text as you wish, all on individual layers. Even letters can be on different layers, doesn't have to be whole sentences. So go back to my solid text. This is a horizontal text type tool. The basic principles are the same within the vertical text type tool, and it gives you an overview of how to use your text tool with effects as well. Anti-aliasing just means that it shouldn't pixelate too badly. Okay, we would always keep the layers separate when we come to save the picture, so I can come back at any time in the future and change it if I so wish. Okay, so hopefully gives you an overview of the horizontal type tool. Have a go and see how you get on. Thanks for watching.